Hi, this is your girl Ebony Caldwell with Ebony Caldwell Realty Portfolio and Ecrp Real Estate Media. I am here at one of our rehab projects, which is a 6-unit. Basically, let me explain who I am and what it is I actually do. I'm a licensed real estate broker, which is Ebony Caldwell Realty Portfolio, as well as Ecrp Real Estate Media, but most importantly, I am a female general contractor. So in all of these projects, you're going to see all of my guys working, explaining to me and to the people, my audience, what's important about rehabbing projects and what it is to look for. You'll also notice that a lot of these projects, as I'm calling the shots, I'm going to have on my dresses and my fashion. Why? Is because I am the real estate rehab fashion queen. For more information on Ebony Caldwell Realty Portfolio and Ecrp Real Estate Media, just follow us on YouTube at Ecrp Real Estate Media so you can see how me and my team get down.
So basically what we're doing here today is we try to run the pipes in the basement leading to all units, and we're installing 3 valves for this section of the unit because this unit has 3 sections going up. So each valve is going to control each section. So in case there is any repair work that needs to be done on each unit, all you have to do is shut off the valve that leads to that unit, and then you can do your repair work. Other than that, most of the time people use one shut-off valve for a whole unit, and if anything goes wrong with a unit, then they have to shut off the water. Then everybody that's on that unit, get affected. They wouldn't have water. But what we're doing here is having each shut-off valve controlling each unit. So in case there is anything wrong that they need to repair, they just shut off the shut-off valve that leads to that unit, and then they can do whatever they need to do. So now this side right here is for the cold water line. That's what we just run. And this pipe hanging here, that's going to be for the hot water line. So that is going to be tapped into this pipe that's taken out of the wall from here. Yeah. And that's also going to service the hot water line for this section. So right now, that's what we're working on. And before we can turn the water on, all the pipes needs to be connected. So we'll pressure test to make sure there is no leakage before we do anything else. Yeah, so basically that's what we're doing today.
Okay, Reagan, so I know you guys had already basically ran all the copper piping that's downstairs in the basement, but then this whole entire wall is open. Why do we still have this wall open, or even most of all the walls in all the units open with all the piping showing?
Yes, that's a good question. Now, before we close up the wall, we have to make sure we pressure test all the copper pipe to make sure there is no leak. Yeah, because as you can see, we made some solids all over, and sometimes if you don't sort over, you tend to have leakage. And some people just install the pipe and close up the wall without testing for leakage, and then over time water begins to leak through the wall and damages your floor or your walls. So before we close up the wall, we want to make sure all the pipes are connected, and we do pressure test to see if there is any leakage. And if there's leakage, we try to fix it before we close the wall, so we don't have any unexpected occurrences after we are done with our work, and then we walk out and then the customers calling us saying they did a good job. So those are some of the reasons why the wall is still not covered.
So the pressure testing is really important for this.
It's very, very important.
So now, how do you do the pressure testing? Is it for each individual unit, or is it for the entire building?
It's going to be for the entire building. We can also do it for each individual unit because we have shower valves down this to each individual unit that we can shut off or turn on in case we want to test each individual unit. Or you can leave all of them open and test the whole building. So it all depends. Yeah, you can do it. Yeah.
Okay. Now, one thing that I noticed, because a lot of times, when you guys go get the material, I always try to make it my business to know what piping is for what material is for what. And I'm noticing this piping right here, this copper piping, is much smaller than this one right here. So why is this one thicker?
Okay. This one is bigger because coming from the mill, you always need a bigger pipe to supply enough water to the unit. And then when you get to each unit, you reduce down to the smaller ones, to supply to each unit. So the bigger one is from the main, and then the smaller ones are for each individual units.
Okay, and then this is actually what's being ran downstairs, correct?
Yes.
And in the units, this is the much smaller.
Yes. The smaller one kind of like builds pressure, it gives pressure to each unit.
Now, what size is this?
This is 3/4, and that's a 1/2 inch.
And it's 3/4 and 1/2 inch. So I know one of the biggest things is like when it comes to security. Sorry, this is my hair. I'm thinking it's a spider web, but I should use the spider webs in any type of building. But as far as security, one of the main things you always hear people talking about is, oh, you need to make sure that you secure the building, or you have your, your security system, your dogs, security gates because of the copper piping.
Yes, copper pipe is very expensive, and most of the time when people break into your house, that's the first thing they look for. Because when they take this copper out, the copper pipes out, they can sell them for good money because copper costs a lot. So most of the time when you do an installation of copper pipes, you want to make sure you have proper security doors, especially if your pipes are exposed, for them to have easy access to. You want to make sure that you have an alarm system or a wall secure door that they can't easily break into.
Oh.
So that's very, very important. Or the next day you come, your copper pipes are going to be missing.
Yeah, and I worry about those calls all the time. Now, before this actually get drywalled in, I know you've mentioned in the past about like the insulation around it,
Yes.
which I think that's a really valid point because especially with apartment buildings in the city of Chicago, you don't turn the heat on until October,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And if it's a building that's controlled by the landlord and they're shutting it off at a certain time, or let's say you leave out of town or whatever, you can run a risk of your pipes freezing.
Yes.
So if you insulate it, explain that for me.
Okay. Normally, sometimes if your pipes are not insulated and the place gets too cold to the point of freezing, your pipes can get frozen and sometimes they burst out. And you don't want that to happen because if the pipe gets busted inside the wall, that can cause a major problem. Water, you can have water leakage in your wall and it can damage your flooring. So you always want to make sure you insulate some. You don't have to, but it's recommended that you insulate your pipe to prevent freezing or any. Let's say because the water, the hot water line is going to be hot.
Okay.
Sometimes condensation takes place, and you don't want the condensation affecting your wall.
Okay.
So it's good to put insulation on it to keep the moisture, inside, so you don't have moisture on your wall. The other thing you can also do is you can put mold resistant drywall to cover the wall, so just in case the condensation to affect your wall. So there are so many things you can do to prevent that from.
And a mold resistant drywall, you want to probably put that in every wall that has pipes in it. It's just, you don't have to.
You don't have to, but if you have the extra money to spend, you do that, you are much safer, so you don't have your walls kind of like cracking, bubbling, moisture coming through.
Now, how important do you think it is for whether it's a homeowner or an investor who might feel like they're experienced just to know what really goes on behind rehabbing? How important do you think that is to you?
I think it's very important because sometimes people just say, oh, I need this done, and they kind of see it like it's an easy job. But sometimes it's not as easy as it looks.
I agree.
You actually have to be there to see what's going on in order to know what is involved in getting it done. It could look like an easy job, but sometimes you open the wall and you start touching the pipes and then it leads to another problem, heating problems. So you always got to make room for those unexpected occurrences.
And I agree with you. I think it's real important that individuals should know. We may quote you one price for plumbing or to redo the kitchen, but the reality of it is, at the end of the day, like you said, once you break open that wall, you turn around and do, checking the pressure, checking the water lines. You see a crack here, you see a crack here. I know you guys, when you were working on it, you did a lot of welding, and you see part that needs to be welded. So, but you don't know that up front, and they need to know that, okay, you might have said $7,000 or $10,000, but it's a possibility.
It can even go up to 20,000 or more, depending on what's hidden behind the wall.
Or the age of the building and all of that.
So sometimes the customer's got to leave room for anything that is beyond our eyes that we can't see until we start tearing down stuff. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's very, very important.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you kind of going into the copper line, copper piping for me. And one of the reasons I love like always explaining stuff like this is because people think like, okay, real estate, if it's just strictly selling properties, probably for the girls, whatever. When it comes to the rehabbing, it's a guy thing. I get a kick out of whether I'm going to Home Depot with you guys or Menards or wherever, any home improvement store, and whether they know I'm with you all or not, they just think I'm this regular woman walking in and they going, Miss, can I help you? Or they trying to give me their business card so I can give them business, and I have to say, I'm a general contractor. I know this stuff. So even though it's like, okay, yeah, I'm self-taught, you guys teaches me a lot, and I just feel it's important for individuals to know whether you're a first-time home buyer, whether you're a woman, whether you're experienced, you don't have to know how to do it, but you should understand it, especially, exactly. Well, Regan, I appreciate you helping with this, and then I will catch up with you next time for what you've done with the rest of the walls. Thanks, Regan. Bye. Okay, so I got my guy Rob here, and Rob is, don't say call a carpenter, but he the jack of all trades. So he got every trade down pat, right?
That's it.
Okay, so right now we kind of get ready to go through the electrical in the building.
Service panel.
The service panel. Well, no, but we're going to talk about the electrical in the building.
That's it.
One of the big issues when it came to the electrical was when my clients purchased this building. I think when I did the bidding, when I did the bidding, it was based upon, okay, we just have to do some electrical or whatever because the building was originally so-called partially rehab. What we found out was there was no electrical.
That's right.
All the wires was pulled out from the basement from, what do you call it, the public utility pipe.
That's it.
Right, so we didn't have anything, right?
That's correct.
Everything had to get ran from scratch.
That's it.
The first step was I was shocked because I had to kind of do certain things while you guys was doing something because I wanted to play a big role in it, right?
That's it.
Okay, so then I go pick up this wiring, which is in your hand.
Right.
About how much do that weigh first before we even go into this?
This spool here we got weigh about 120 pounds. It is called 2-gauge cable, which is a service wiring, which we fish down from the third, second, first floor down to the basement to the main 9-gangable meter box. And from that point, I had to run a 3-aught cable from the 400 amp breaker, which provides power to the 9 multiple box meter box, to the service line, which I had to tie into the ComEd line and connect to the post.
So let me ask you this. So it's interesting you said the ComEd line. 2 different occasions we had ComEd to come out here.
Yes.
And they could never turn it on because, like you said, in order for them to turn it on, which people, even other electricians didn't understand, that we had no wires here. And in their theory, if they're not experienced, they say, well, that's impossible because ComEd should run the line.
That's right.
Which is not true.
Right, that's right.
An experienced electrician should actually run that line.
That's it. Yeah, they only tie on from the outside post, the main line, onto the building.
Okay.
And from the 3.5-inch service pipe in which I had to fish onto to the meters, I had to tie on from that point.
Okay. And then, is this the wire that you used? Right.
Yes. This wire, particular wire here, is a 2-gauge wiring, which is the service wire, which we tie this on to the 100 amp breaker box here. It requires a 2-gauge wiring. Okay. And the one that's in the basement that comes from ComEd from the pole is a 3-aught cable, which is about 3 of these 2-gauge wires you see here put together. And that requires to handle up to 400 amps. And that is the wire that I had to run from the service panel, which is 400 amp, and connect on to the ComEd line.
So then right now we're at the service panel.
Yes, this is.
So how did you all get this wire through this little hole? Because this is a lot.
Interesting point.
From here?
Yes, this was a real battle here. It's like trying to fit an elephant through a needle. I tell you, it's very difficult to fish 2-gauge wiring through a 1.5-inch pipe. It takes a lot of manpower. It took actually 2 people to actually get this wire fished down.
And the whole
through the
building
pipe.
had to be done like this?
The whole building, from the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st floor.
So how long did it take to get this wiring fished down to the basement?
It's such a fight. It took us actually nearly a day just to get 1 unit fished down.
Wow.
Just
Now,
to the meter.
what are these wires right here?
Okay, these are the.
Are these live first while I'm touching them?
No, the power is here. You don't have to worry about
Okay.
that. But these are much thinner wires. These are 12-gauge fish wires, which provides power throughout this whole unit. Most apartments residentially require you to run 12-gauge for the outlets, I'm trying to say, and 14-gauge for the lightnings.
Okay. Can we go down? What I want to do is go down to the other unit, take a look at the breakers, the circuit breakers, correct?
Yes.
Okay, take a look at the circuit breakers to see how you have them ran from here into the circuit breaker.
That's correct.
And then you'll kind of explain it to me into more details. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Come on, let's go. So, Rob, so now right here, we're actually outside, whereas like you have the utility pole that's right there.
Yes.
Right?
That's
Then we
correct.
have what do we call this pole for our building?
The server access, ComEd service access pole.
So it's the ComEd service access pole. And the biggest issue that we had with ComEd is that we could not get electricity to the building because they like there's no wires, there's no boxes, no circuit, there's nothing
That's
here.
correct.
So we basically had a bare building,
Yes,
right?
That's correct.
How did this get connected here? Like explain it to me because I had a problem understanding it.
Okay, first of all, this is the ComEd service lines that's connected to the ComEd service pole, which leads into the building. What happened was they vandalized the wiring. They cut the wiring in half and pulled all of the 3-aught gauge size wiring out of the post here.
Okay.
And that was the reason why we didn't have any power going into the building. So what I had to do was purchase more 3-aught cable wiring and fish it through the 3.5-inch conduit piping itself, which was pretty difficult to go into the pipe, and you had to use a little bit of muscle to get it down into the building, down into the pipe into the unit. Inside, we have a 400 amp main breaker.
And then we'll see that in a second. But you said you had to get this wire in. So so this wire, how did ComEd connect it? Like you guys had to obviously you had to put the wire there, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So you climbed up there yourself?
Yes, I had to use a ladder and climb up. And after fishing the wires through the pipe, I had to connect on to the ComEd line existingly to tie on to provide the power to the building.
You wasn't worried about falling because you know you're a big guy. They say the bigger they are, the harder they fall.
I think it's the other way around nowadays. The lighter they are, the harder they fall. So, but yeah, you just have to use self-precautions, and tie yourself up to the post and just do your connection. The main thing, stay grounded.
Stay grounded.
Yes.
Because you can
Meaning
get electrocuted.
that you can't become stuck to the pole like a fried piece of fish.
Okay. So with that being said, because I love to try to do a lot of stuff myself.
Right.
Could I do this?
Like I said a little earlier, I believe anybody can do anything you set your mind to do. It's all it's based on working with precautions, being safe. Main thing is cap off all your hot wires first. That's the main thing because you don't want the hot wiring to have play and touch the metal, and then it'll start a arc causing an explosion, which can explode you. So I'm not trying to make it seem scary, but things do happen that way. So work safely, you know, tape up your wiring so that the conduit doesn't become attached to any metal pipe itself. Ground first and then connect hots.
So what I'll do is I'll stay in my lane and just stay knowledgeable about it. So when somebody, you know, continue to do more buildings, or people that I know ask me my advice and opinions, I can explain that to them, because the one thing I don't want to do is, you know, be fried like a fish. I don't want to blow up. I don't want to do none of that stuff. You know,
That's it.
I just want to keep wearing all my like fashion to these properties and do what I do.
There you go. But you know,
but just get the business.
Yeah, but on the other note, there go my man Vada. He'll tell you what time it is. But actually, you know, well, I'll tell you like this here. I wasn't the one that climbed that pole. Usually I do.
thought you said you.
Yeah, but you know, I'm just rephrasing it. You know, Vaughn gonna tell you what time it is. But you know, he had a little flimsy ladder that I didn't like. So, you know, I wasn't too fond of it. So I said, Vaughn, you get on up there and climb that post and go through the training of it. So
I mean,
that's what happened.
so I climbed up there, and like you said, the cables, which is the ground and the neutral, hooked it up, tied it up. There was some clamps that we had to purchase as well, so they can be all tied together. And then some ComEd came out and put their clamps over it to secure it so no water won't get in and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I tapped on.
well, I guess you're still surviving. So you didn't fall.
Hey,
Or you
we
didn't burn
still
yourself.
here. We still here.
Only strong survive. Let's just take a quick look at just like the 100 amp circuit breakers in the basement.
Yes, 400 amp.
Yep, that I went to purchase with a short dress on at Home Depot, and I had a lot of help with people helping me, you know, get those. Okay, we're in this basement, and yeah, I got this dress on in this basement, which I actually wear this all the time in all these basements, all these properties, right?
Glamour girl.
Glamour girl, glamour girl. Glamour girl. Here are the boxes. Let me wait. These are boxes.
Yes, this is called a multimeter gainable box, yes.
And then you all had to explain what had to be done here in order for ComEd to bring this inside of here.
Yes, yes. Well, back to where we started at on the outside side of this building, where I was explaining how we had to fish the 3-aught cable down into the 3.5-inch piping. Okay, this is where all of those wires come into to provide power from this 400 amp service interrupter breaker box.
Okay.
Which allows power to come from this particular interrupter box to provide power into the gainable meter box here, which is providing the electricity flow of power to each unit.
Okay. Okay. And then what is these? Okay, so these are the ones that I picked up from the home improvement, the
Yes.
100 amps.
Breakers.
100 amp breakers.
Yes.
So inside the individual units is when you put like the 10, 15, and 20 for residential, because they're individual apartments.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
But for the physical commercial portion of the building, you have to go with the larger numbers.
Yes, because we are servicing powers to the meters, we had to use 100 amp breakers.
Okay.
Okay, due to the American wire gauge size wiring requires 100 amp breakers. And from this point, if you notice, every apartment has a 100 amp service panel. So therefore, we have to push 100 amps from the meter towards each service panel, which is 100 amps.
Okay. Now, is 100 amps the largest, or is next in line, or that's the largest for residential commercial? That makes sense.
Well, it's not the largest, but for this particular unit that we're wiring up,
The
yes,
6
it
units.
requires 100 amps.
Okay. And I noticed when I was there picking them up, I actually had to go to 2 different home improvement stores because they were basically sold out. They had tons of 15s, tons of 10s, tons of 20s, and they only had 3 100s, and I was frustrated. And then I had to go to another home improvement store, and they only had 3 there. Why do you think that they were sold out so fast, but yet, you know, you see all of the overstock of the other ones?
Well, back to what you were saying, 100 amps is pretty much the most popular amps that's used in these multi-type unit buildings.
Okay.
They are pretty common.
Okay, we have 7 meters here, but we in a 6-unit building. Why do we have 7 meters for a 6-unit building?
Okay, well, we have 6 units that's running off power. For instance, unit 1 north, 2 left, 3 north. We got unit 1 south, 2 south, 3 south. So we have a total of 6 units. This 7th particular meter here you see, this is the building service meter, which provides power like the basement we're in and the exterior lightings. So there's a separate meter to provide power in which the landlord has to pay for that particular power inside the basement, outside exterior. It's a separate meter.
Okay. Well, that's all that I really have. Just kind of want to get a better understanding of the electrical, how it's actually ran. Because, you know, even though I have my own Ebony Calder Realty portfolio, Ecrp contractors, you know, sometimes you just kind of want to sometimes sub things out to other contractors. And so I did call other electricians, and it was amazing how they didn't understand what the heck I was talking about when I was talking about running new lines into the building because we need a con man to run service in here. So it really is important. Just because a person have you know, the electrical license, or just because they have a real estate license, does not mean that they are experienced in that actual category. It's kind of like you have to be well diverse in truly what it is that you do, correct?
That's true. That's true.
Okay. Well, for me, it was important for me to kind of bring this up because I do want to like educate people. Just because you call an electrician, you need to know exactly what's wrong with your place. You know, don't just call one, get a few different ones out just to get an idea what's really need to be done, because you can call the first person and get screwed over.
That's so true.
And even being in this business as a woman is still important, even though I may feel like I know the construction side or the rehab side, that I still constantly get educated by you guys.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. Well, thank you for helping me out here, and hopefully, you know, our people and, you know, whether it's our followers, our investors, other homeowners, they kind of continue to watch so we can just keep bringing different educational material as far as just like rehab and construction, just even the basic do-it-yourself DIYs, right?
That's true.
Cool.
That's
All right then. Bye. Bye, Rob.
Take care.
Peace. These ain't game exercise. Promise you.